Hello everyone and welcome to Tabletop Tea Time. This is the show where a variety of creators join me to talk about games, and we sometimes have a bit of a theme about it. And this time, well, it's what's the weirdest game in your collection? And, well, shall I start us off? It's gonna probably be one of the least weird games on the list, but I think Before the Guests Arrive has one of the most unusual themes that a game can have. Why? Because it's about tidying up. You get games about going into space, taking over planets, you get ones about collecting gems and stuff like that, and it kind of all makes sense. Like, you know, maybe a pirate's after some gems, or you're, you know, building and colonising this and building up, and they kind of make sense. They'd be cool films, they'd be cool books, they're cool games. But tidying up? That doesn't really sound like a fun theme, and yet, weirdly, it is a fun game. It's one of these ones where you are trying to sort of somewhat set collect, but you have to have something that allows you to score that set at the end of the game. So you might have a load of these yellow scoring cards, but if you don't have someone that can hold them and to have put them away before the guests arrive, they're actually going to end up losing you points rather than gaining you them. Yeah, there's a re-theme, which you can see about stuff on the channel, Huggy or Hoogar. I think that's a cool sort of family-friendly re-theming from Helvetique, and this original just has a slightly, but it's a weirder theme, in my opinion. It's not weird and wonderful in terms of tentacles or Cthulhu, you know, or you know, an alien bursting out of your chest. But when you think about it, it's a weird theme for a game to be interesting. Because tidying up, I don't want to tidy up. You can probably tell from the state of some of my shelf behind me, tidying up is not my favourite thing, but it's a fun game as a result. And it kind of makes sense, which is, yeah, that's good, that's what you want from a theme, right? Weird, wonderful, maybe not, I don't know. But let's see what some others have picked.
Hi, I'm Josh from the YouTube channel Joshyaks, and this month's topic of weird games made me realize that my game collection is really lacking in that category. I don't really have much in the way of weird games. Now, one thing I've always thought was super weird was the fact that in Flashpoint Fire Rescue, it's possible to win the game even if some people die horrible fiery deaths in a house fire. As long as you save enough people, you can still achieve a victory. As a paramedic, that just never sat right with me at all, so I've kind of experimented a bit with trying to come up with a system where if you lose anybody, you lose the game. But the game itself isn't that weird. It's kind of a neat basic simulation of being firefighters. One game that I guess is kind of weird is Camel Up. Now, I really enjoy these type of games where you are betting on the outcome of a race. Any game that allows me to do some kind of gambling tends to be pretty fun for me. Now, Camel Up is weird because in this camel race, camels can actually stack on each other and carry one or more other camels on their backs. And not only that, but in the second edition of Camel Up, you also have this module that you can add where two camels are racing the other way around the track, and they could end up picking up some of the camels and carrying them backwards, and that leads to so much chaos. So very weird theme, but it's probably my favorite of that genre of game where you have a race and you're trying to bet on the outcome to end up with the most money. It's a great little family game, one that I've enjoyed for a lot of years now. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a weird day. Cheers.
Hey everybody, I'm Evan, and today I'll show you a game that you have probably never heard of. Today I'm going to show you a game called Yukidama Zombie, also known as Snowball Zombies on Board Game Geek. This is a simultaneous selection dexterity sort of game where you are kids at the top of the hill, and unfortunately, zombies start coming out of the graveyard below. How else do you defeat those zombies? Well, by rolling snowballs down the hill to push them back to the graveyard. Let's go down to the table, and I'll show you how it works. A game of Yukidama Zombie is played over 7 rounds, as shown on this round card. Each round, all the players simultaneously play one of their cards. Everyone gets a deck of identical cards, and you only ever get to play each card one time throughout the course of the game. So, if everyone plays their card, if you orient it like this, that means you are intending to move towards the red crystal side. If you orient it like this, that means you are trying to move towards the blue crystal side. And then you get to do your action. The actions are carried out left to right. And if there's two people on the same spot, they are done in lowest to highest order. So, what exactly are these cards? Okay. The first card is move. That's all you're doing on your turn, moving. The second one is put or pull, which allows you to put or pull one of these little pegs into the board, which may potentially allow you to plinko the zombies off the board. The next one is put, which all you're doing is putting a peg in there. The next one is put and ball, which allows you to put one out and then roll the ball. The next one is pull and ball. Pull one of the pegs, roll the ball. Ball and ball, so roll the ball twice. And then move and ball. Okay, so as the rounds go on, more zombies will be added to the board. And more pegs might potentially be placed out. Purple zombies are worth 1 point. Red zombies are worth 5 points. The white one is actually a villager. They're worth -5 points if you end up hitting them. So you use the die to determine which paths they take. And also you use the die to determine the starting spots of the zombies. So what you do, play your cards, and when it comes time to roll in the ball, which is the fun part of the game, there is a little like metal ball bearing kind of thing here that you set in front of your character and let it go. And as you can see, sometimes no zombies get hit. But the idea is to try to knock down as many as you possibly can on your turn. Because as scoring goes, the more you can knock down in one turn, the more you score. Purple zombies are 1 point. If you happen to knock down 2, they're each worth 1 point, plus a bonus point for each additional one knocked down. So knocking down 2 in a turn is 3 points. At the end of 7 rounds, after everyone has played every single one of their cards, the game is over. However, if a zombie ever gets to where you are standing, you lose points. If a villager ever gets to the top where you are standing, you gain that villager as 5 bonus points. So yeah, that's basically how you play the game. Let's go back up top, and I will tell you what I think about it.
And there you have it. That's Yukidama Zombie. How do I feel about this game? Well, that's an interesting question because in theory, I think it's a lot of fun. In actual play, I don't know if the game 100% works. I think there are some tweaks that could potentially be made to make it a little more fun to play. So the couple of problems are, in your hand of cards, you have only 4 out of the 7 are actually rolling the ball. And rolling the ball is what's the fun part of the game. And then I feel like this board isn't necessarily straight. Maybe that adds to the unpredictability if it's a little warped and you don't know which way the snowball is going to go. But sometimes you just don't hit anything, even when there's a lot of zombies on the board. And the other issue is that I feel like that this little ball bearing could be bigger. Like if it was a bigger marble, I think it would hit more targets. So I think if you even just wanted to tweak the rules yourself, you could probably just add a bigger marble, maybe just add so that every card gets to roll the ball, and maybe less focus on moving. And the other thing is that's not fun is when you play the same card and end up in the same space, you basically lose your turn, and that's not fun either. So I think to make it more fast and more, just fun, those little tweaks would improve the game. But as it stands, I don't know that it's a game that's 100% fun 100% of the time. So where are you going to find this game?
Yeah, you're probably not. This game came out in 2016. I got it from a company that used to distribute Japanese games, but they don't even exist anymore. They were a German company called Nice Game Shop. I miss that company. I used to find a lot of cool stuff there. But I don't think you're going to find a copy of this. There's a few owners on Board Game Geek, but no copies for sale. So, yeah, well, that about wraps up this week's episode. I hope you learned something new about a game about zombies and snowballs. And, well, enjoy the rest of your tea time, and I will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Hi, I'm Barb, MeeplePhD. I'm an astronomer and I love to find connections between astronomy and board games. So in this segment, I am looking at astronomy that I'm finding in non-astronomy themed board games. This time I'm looking at The Light in the Mist. This is a puzzle-style game that's based on a deck of tarot cards. The basic story is that your friend has gotten lost in the woods, in the mist, and all that you have found from them is a backpack and this deck of tarot cards. You will pick one of the major arcana cards, and then with that will be associated a number of the minor arcana cards. You will read an entry in the book, and then that's it. You are left with this pile of cards trying to figure out how to get a word out of it, or maybe a series of single words. Each word that you find in that card, in that set of cards, should correspond if it's correct, to a passage in the book. And then you'll read that and learn a little bit more about your friend and their life. Now, one night when I was solving one of the puzzles, I noticed that the cards involved all had these patterns of stars on them in the night sky. And I was wondering, of course, if those stars had anything to do with the puzzle, but I also spent some time looking at them and wondering if they were based on real constellations. And of course, that's where the astronomy comes into this. When I tell people I'm an astronomer, I often get a phrase back like, "Oh, you must study the constellations." I can still find some of my old favorites in the sky. Orion is one of my constant companions, but I am not an expert in constellations and I have never studied them. This is because the constellations that we know were set by our ancestors. And the ones that I know aren't the only constellations out there. Different peoples across the globe have looked up at the night sky and found different patterns and told their own stories through those patterns in the sky. And in fact, the constellations are only meaningful to those of us sitting here on the surface of Earth. If we were to look at the same groupings of stars from another star somewhere across our galaxy, they wouldn't make the same patterns. But that's not to say that constellations don't have a place in astronomy. For me, they are used more like a map. When someone's talking about a new source or something that they're looking at, they might say, in the constellation Cygnus. So the next time you are playing a game that you see some star patterns on a card, like I did in The Light in the Mist, it's okay if you think about astronomy. But I'd suggest also thinking about the rich history and mythologies that have gone into those patterns. I hope you enjoyed this little foray into some unexpected astronomy. If you like this kind of content, go find my channel at MeeplePhD on YouTube and subscribe to it so you can get more content like this. Otherwise, you can follow me on Instagram and Blue Sky, and I will see you next month. And enjoy the rest of your tea time.
Now, I've also been interviewing some designers recently, and I've asked a couple of them what is the weirdest game in their collection, so let's hear from them now.
So I don't really know how to answer this question, what the weirdest game in my collection is, so I'm gonna give two. My first is probably Windward up there. It's like a sea pirate, kind of space pirate theme, but you're hunting space whales. So again, it feels like a really weird theme, but it's such a good game and I love it. I love the space pirates thing, and then the space whale thing is just part of it. But my other example of this is Fast and Furious. I don't think it's as well known as it should be. It's kind of like a legacy game where you go through three different, kind of like campaigns, but not really, three different scenarios, but it is so fun, it is so underrated, and I'm not, like, yeah, I just love the game. I love Fast and Furious too. My sister and I are big fans. That's kind of like our thing, but that is a really, really good game.
So this is not the weirdest game personally, but this is certainly one of the weirder concepts I've seen. And part of this is because I don't really own a lot of board games. like my shelf over here has a few published games on top there. But most of my calyx is actually the bits that I use for designing games. So I don't really have a lot of weird games to talk about. But the one that I'll go ahead and just show on camera while I'm thinking about it is going to be this one. This was Cluedo, and this is basically they tried to combine Cluedo or Clue with an escape room style game. And I thought it was a really cool idea done in kind of a weird way. I appreciate what they were trying to do, but the process of making Clue a mass market game and combine it with an escape room type experience means you have to do things you have to keep things really simple, and that's okay because sometimes, again, as we were talking about, simple is better 99% of the time. I wish they'd added a little bit more depth to the game, and I wish they had made a couple more sort of branching paths, but yeah, it's not very weird. Sorry about that.
And well, that about wraps us up here today. Normally, yes, we do have a creator spotlight. Because I'm in a little bit of a rush this month, things are quite busy, it's not happening, but it will be back in the future. And if you want to see some creators interviewed, go back and watch some previous Tabletop Tea Times. While you're thinking about going and watching other stuff, there's going to be links to the creators that were on today's show in the description box downstairs. So go and check out their own channels and subscribe to them, as well as subscribing here. And well, until next month, let us know what is the weirdest game in your collection in the comment section below, and have a fabulous month gaming.